In human design, you'll hear a lot about deconditioning process. And I feel like for projectors in particular, this is a very key piece in the journey. And I feel like in my own journey, I can look back before I knew anything about human design. I'd never heard of it until about 5, 6-ish years ago. But I can look back in my life as a projector and really see how I was very naturally drawn to practices that facilitated deconditioning. And I feel like the simplest way to sort of describe the deconditioning process is we're on a journey of desiring to really experience ourselves as a direct channel. And so we have this knowing that we're carrying a lot of stuff, if you will, energy, that's not ours. And I know in my experiences, there was a lot of very dramatic, big things happening in my external world in my early years. And I always had this sense that these these experiences didn't define me. Obviously, sometimes that would be muddled and things sometimes would be more of a struggle than others. But there was something that I always felt like I was witnessing. And I feel like projectors have a natural sense of witnessing. And it doesn't stop us from absorbing and going through conditioning. But I do feel that when we learn about deconditioning and we learn about letting go of what is not ours, and we get clearer and clearer and clearer about what that is, we can look back and we can recognize that having that sense, that inkling, that kind of knowingness that the experiences that we're having are not who we are. And yes, all energy types will go through a similar experience. But I feel for projectors in particular, we we recognize again, it's sort of natural to us. It's not anything that, like, we do go deeper into teachings, but I think initially you will recognize that you kind of already have that knowing within you of seeing these more difficult experiences, challenging experiences, relationships that were maybe challenging experiences, situations that it's not you and that you have a deeper sense of your innate essence. And this is a very important and powerful piece for projectors because there's a lot in the world that tells us that we're different. There's a lot coming at us that tells us that, or maybe doesn't tell us, but maybe we feel like we don't belong because everybody, majority of the world is saying, hey, this is how things should be done. This is how you should do it. And the projector goes, like, that doesn't really feel right to me. And so I feel like we spend a lot of our lives kind of bending and adapting and sort of trying to fit in. And it's not even necessarily to make others more comfortable. Sometimes that can absolutely come up for sure. Um, nobody's really exempt from people pleasing. I think we all go through our phases of that, and that's, in itself its own learning. But I feel like even to ourselves, we will, try to convince ourselves well, maybe it'll be a bit easier for me if I kind of um, bend to the ways of others. And I feel like we can do that over and over and over again and create habits of oppressing our desires and oppressing our power, essentially. Because if we're always kind of like, oh, this is how I feel like I want to be in this situation, this is why how I want to hold my power, and we get some message coming in saying, well, like, I think you should kind of do it this way because this is the way that everybody else does it. And we go, well, it doesn't really feel right to me, and I don't really want to do it that way. But I guess if everybody else is doing it that way, maybe I should try it. Or maybe I can kind of do it that way and I can kind of do it my way and hopefully it'll kind of work out. And it's not that that's like really like a bad thing, right? It's just that it diminishes our power and we can feel it. And it feels a little bit like self-betrayal and it feels potentially like bitterness because what often happens is that when we are in action, like we've kind of diminished ourselves to kind of fit in some capacity. And then when we're in action in the situation, we'll walk away, like we'll make our way through the situation, we'll get through it somehow. It happens. It's all good. But then after, we kind of go, oh, like I really wish I didn't do that. I don't think I needed to do that. I don't think I needed to change myself to fit in, actually. Like I think we're seeing that as we get clearer in our journey, we don't need to do that. And I think a lot of it comes obviously from like early years of trying to fit in and trying to sort of be in the norm and not always wanting to feel like the outsider. Like I just kind of want to go with the flow. Can I just go with the flow? Like none of my other friends are going on meditation retreats in their early 20s. No, none of my other friends are this or that. And eventually maybe you do find community and you do find people where you feel like you belong and it's great and there it's not this isn't about like, oh my gosh, the world is ending and it's terrible and it's all bad, right? It's more so that subtle, like depending on where you are in your journey, and chances are if you're watching this video, you're likely a spiritual entrepreneur, a spiritual woman, a projector woman, somebody who's looking for self-improvement, self-development, seeking and wanting to learn more. And you can really get into the subtleness of these things, right? And I got this reminder the other day that was really powerful for me because, I feel like, again, not just projectors, but projectors in particular, I feel like we can get really stuck in our heads because we have this pattern of wanting to not feel crummy, not feel like the outsider, not feel bitter, not feel resentful, not feel that painful sensation in our body of unplugging from source. Like we really, really dislike being disconnected from source. It's like a death. Like we really, really don't like it, and it's not good for us either. This is the thing, right? And we we really want to get into those subtle, maybe less obvious ways that we sacrifice our well-being in a way, because that's ultimately what happens is that if we are you know, giving our power away to these situations where we think it's going to be better for us. We think we're gonna be stuck in our heads. Yes, and this is the reminder that I received the other day is like really feeling where that is in your body. And like nothing feels worse than when you have a heavy heart because you didn't say the thing that was really, really wanting to come through. Nothing feels worse than when you walk away with this pit in your stomach because you absorbed somebody else's negativity that they were projecting onto you. And there's numerous ways that we do this, but the reminder of what I received recently is our connection to the body is such a massive communication for us in staying in our power and like listening to ourselves. And it makes me a bit emotional because I feel like it can be so easy to forget, because we want to understand the thing. We want to see the systems. We want to protect ourselves, right? We don't want to walk through the world feeling bitter and resentful, like nobody hears us, nobody sees us. We don't know how to move forward. And it can be hard sometimes in such a noisy world to hear the subtle messages that you're receiving all the time. And that if we listen to those subtle messages, we will be guided. We will know the path. We will feel ourselves in alignment and we will have the knowingness of what we need to do next. And it can be very seemingly easy to listen to everything that's coming in externally and feel like maybe they know better. Maybe they know better. And we can get caught in this, inner sabotage, inner critic, self-sabotage, essentially various ways of giving our power away. And it's not I think we need to learn that. I think we need to learn that. I think we have needed to learn that. And that as we move forward and we become the guide that we're meant to, it'll be easier for us to recognize those patterns in others. And essentially, our role as a guide is leading people to self-realization, to helping people move through that process of realizing what is important and what is not. And this is putting it very simply, but you can see it on an individual level, you can see it happening in communities, you can see it happening in groups, you can see it happening in larger scales in countries, in our world, in the universe, is that we're really starting to see what is not truth. And in Buddhism, they call it altruism, and it's a beautiful word. Like even just saying altruism, we really can boil things down and get to this place where we can just know what is the truth and what is not. And this is very similar to the deconditioning process that we go through as we heal and move into more self-recognition. And in different pathways, it can be named different things, but in here I'm speaking about being a projector, I'm speaking about human design, I'm speaking about the conditioning process and the deconditioning process. And ultimately, it comes to the point where you're recognizing that is not the truth. This is the truth. And we can see it in ourselves. And when we really like hone in on that and we're devoted to it and we're committed to it and we're accountable for it, what happens is that this will be reflected into our world around us. And, again, this is like one of these projector pieces that's really big is you're not meant to be looking outside of yourself for guidance. I mean, none of us really are. Projectors, especially, because we are not here to guide from our ego mind. We are not even really here to guide from all the books that we've read and all the things that we've studied and all the things, all the things, all the things. They all help and they all are part of the path, but they are not the thing. We're meant to be a channel. We are meant to be a guide that is directly connected to source and saying, the way that I see it is that we open ourselves up as a clear and present channel and we go through these massive levels of deconditioning. And like I said, most of us have been on this journey for this lifetime at least. Maybe I sense for myself that I've been kind of working on this for I want to say like a couple hundred years because that's how it feels. I have the strongest past life memories from the last, couple hundred years. And I have this sense that this deconditioning process is a continuation from previous lifetimes. And that I was born into a very difficult family life as another way for me to recognize that I am not that, that I am this, and that I am a direct channel, and that is where I lead from. And I feel like, anyways, not to go into my whole personal experience in this lifetime, but I can see the continuation of the process of the deconditioning is what I want to really bring through. And the way I see projectors is literally like a projector. We are receiving this direct channel. And I know other people see this as well for different energy types. So if you are watching this and you're a different energy type, you may also resonate with this. But I feel like the thing about projectors in particular is that we're very focused. It's very, very focused for us. And so, yes, there's multiple light workers, way showers, all the things, psychics, intuitives, mediums, channels, all of these different things. It's all like, yes, we need more of this. The projector in particular is literally as if source light is shining behind you and shining through you, and you are projecting it outwards, and this is how you're leading the way. So it's not really you. The work that you have done and are doing is to become that clear channel. And I know this resonates with you because I know the work that you do and how you spend your time is all coming back to that feeling of being clear and direct. Projectors generally spend a lot of time in nature. And it is because when we step out in nature, we are instantly reminded of who we really are. We know that we're not separate. We know that we are connected And we know that simply allowing ourselves to be in nature and to receive in nature and to give in nature is to be our true selves. So you'll see a lot of projectors are massive advocates for nature, for Mother Earth, for the environment, for causes that are helping other humans, animals, like all the things. And again, not to say that not that other that other energy types are not also doing this. But we know that it is our role. We know that it is our role. And we know that we have this laser vision that just sees things so easily and so clearly. And one thing that has taken me especially in the last few years, it's really been a lot about recognizing that not everybody sees things that way. And there's some grief mixed in that. There's like a lot of mixed feelings because when you are continuously telling somebody this is how I see it, this is how I see it, this is how I see it, and they're just going, "No, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't think that's it." It's hard. It's hard on your confidence, right? Because you're like, why doesn't everybody see it the way that I do it? Why can't we see that we have to stop doing it that way? Why can we not see that we have to slow our roll? Like we have to slow down, right? The capitalistic system has to slow down. Anyways, I don't want to go on a tangent right now. Come back around later to all that. But but my point being is that we see the thing. We like, that is not working anymore. And we see it happening, like it is coming out now a little bit more, right? Like we see some of the old systems breaking down. People are starting to recognize that these old systems that were created, whether they had good intentions or not good intentions or whatever it was, why ever they were created the way that they were, we're not really here, I don't think, to know absolutely all the ins and outs. What we see, what's important is that we see the trajectory moving forward. And we can understand the systems and we can, to whatever degree, depending on where your passions lie, and then we go, you know what, this way, this is the way we need to go. And we have to really open ourselves up as that channel to guide, like it's kind of like guiding us and guiding others. And I feel like this is where we really need to step into that radical trust of like we're shining the light, but we're also kind of stepping into the unknown and we're like, hey, let's go. So we have to trust ourselves that much that we can say, hey, here we go. We're all going to go in this together. And this is the thing, right? This is where I think we can, open things up a little bit and diffuse them and remember that we're not necessarily like we are trusting ourselves, but what we're really trusting is our connection to source, our connection to creator. And so we're trusting ourselves in our trust with creator, with source, because that will not steer us wrong. That will not steer us wrong. And so because we have spent so much of our time in our lives focusing on being that clear and open channel and nurturing our relationship to source, like that's basically all we do in everything that we do. That's what makes us ready. Because I can say, hey, come on, let's go, knowing that I will know how to guide when it's time for me to guide. And guide is just such a good word. It's so hard to use any other word because it's different than teaching. It's different than facilitating. It's different than holding space. It's literally a guide energy. And if I always get the vision of being on a path, literally being on a path. And if you follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is Path with Heart because I feel like if we follow our heart's desires and the transmissions that we get through our heart, we will be guided on our path. And this is what I see for projectors is that we are on we are on a path walking with others. And sorry, I kind of lost my message there. I see it like Boy Scouts or Girl Guides or, this kind of group where the guide is almost like a peer. A guide is somebody who, went through the motions of learning the program and getting their badges and, having their uniform, and their uniform is just a little bit different than the uniform of the participants, and they are the guide. And they're not just saying like, "Oh, do this because I say." They're saying, "Hey, when I was young, I learned how to build a fire like this, and I'm going to show you how to do it." And, I learned this survival technique of how to get clean water if you're in a real pickle. And I'm going to show you how to do it, and I'm going to do it with you. And I feel like that is the essence of the new way, essentially. Like it's just going to be a new way. This division of some people being down here and some people being way up here. Like, okay, I don't want to go too far on a tangent, but I see that shifting where there's going to be more equanimity, where we're going to be more equanimous with each other and with our world and with Mother Nature, and the reciprocity of being in it together. Because the division is, I mean, to be human is to experience suffering, but the division and the separateness only increases our suffering for all beings, not just for these ones and not just for those ones. Like we're truly only as fast as our slowest hiker. And so if we look around in the world and we see that there are people and animals that are suffering, I mean life or death suffering, it is a reflection of our evolution. It means that it's showing us that we still have work to do. Because if we were more successful in our society, we would have less of that very that level of survival type of suffering, because to be human, yes, we experience suffering, but we're not meant to leave our sick and our old and our um addicted and people that need support. We're not supposed to be leaving them behind. And so you can get this sense of like we're only as fast as our slowest hiker. You can't just like take off and leave a bunch of people behind. And we really see this in our society right now, right? Where there are people that are not being looked after. And this is going to shift because it has to. We're not going to be fully comfortable in our luxury if we know that there are these people that are suffering in extreme cases. So I feel like maybe that could be a whole other talk, right? But I just wanted to bring that through is that is truly our role as being a guide is to bring everybody back into their self-realization. And if we're all living in our truest connection to self-realization and our connection to source, the the people that need the support and the environment that needs the support and the animals that need the support and the systems that aren't working anymore are going to shift and move with that. Like we are literally here to project the way that it's meant to be. And in a lot of ways, it's like it's a very profound and big role, and in other ways, it's a very humble and soft role. But it's one that really takes, you know, um, each step it takes another level of commitment. And the thing is, though, is that you're ready because you've already been facing these things within yourself where you're like, this that I'm really feeling this weight over here, and I feel like this is really I'm suffering because of this, and I'm hurting, and I have pain, and there's like some bitterness, and I'm not feeling well, and what is this? And we're so curious, and we're so our desire for that clear connection is so strong that we keep looking and we keep looking and we keep going inwards and we keep going inwards and we go, oh, that's the thing. And guess what? Most always it's not ours. We've modified our behavior and we've kind of made it ours, or we've developed these patterns, and there's still responsibility and accountability, but we can see that it's like it doesn't belong to us. It's conditioning. It's something that's come in and kind of taken over, and we're like, you know what? I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna let that go. It's not mine. And it's not always a one and done. Um, but recognizing that it's not yours is a big step because then every time it comes up, you're like, it's not mine. It's not mine. I'm ready to let that go. So where you want to pay attention is in those sort of painful points. Where do you feel stuck? Where do you get triggered? Where do you feel off in your body? Where do you feel pain in your body? What is bringing up those feelings? And noticing the nuances in a new light. Because chances are you see these patterns and you've already done a lot of work, and it's all part of the journey. And now it's if you're really like looking to step into that role of being a guide, it's it's going to be cranking up a notch. To put it simply, right? There's gonna be more fine tuning. There's gonna be more coming up for you to to work on it a little bit more, to work on it a little bit more, to work on it a little bit more. And you might be going like, why does this keep coming up? And you know that if it's coming up and there's friction, that's why, because it's still needing to be released on another level and another level. I'll give one more analogy and then I'll wrap this up. Is that what I see a lot in when I've done a lot of energy work over the years, and the way that I see people's auras essentially. I typically don't necessarily articulate it this way, but I have to kind of bring it through in words. So this is what it is. When I go into people's energies, and let's say yeah, it's their aura, but it's also their energetic body. It's the energetic body more so than the aura. Okay. So when I go in energetically to help people move through things, move through limiting beliefs, move through old patterns, whether from this lifetime or previous lifetimes, if they're going through big grief, all these different things that they might be going through and experiencing. And when I go in with the energy, it's as if there's these kind of floating energy ball pockets. I call them pockets. They kind of look like a little energetic ball, type shape, right? And what happens is that when we have an experience, we get these little pockets and they float around in our energy. Sometimes they can solidify a bit more and get a little bit more solid and stagnant and heavy. Sometimes there might be smaller ones and they're just kind of floating around. Anyways, what happens is when you go in energetically and then you can kind of like open things up. And the way that I see it is like a cotton ball or a spider web. And I feel like I've talked about this before. And you can open it up and you can diffuse it instantly. You could just like, I'm just going to open that up. Maybe some days you're like, I'm opening it right up. Let's just get right into this can of worms. Sometimes it's just a little bit softer and you're like, oh, I'm really curious about that. Ooh, that's kind of a big one. Maybe I'm just gonna like take it easy when I go in here. And that might be when you ask for support, or maybe you reach out to a therapist, or book a session with somebody like me who's going to help you go into these things, or you have your healer or your friend, or you go out in nature, whatever it is that you need for support in these times. But sometimes you just open it up and you go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And you can just let it go. Or you open it up and you do what you can, and then you kind of like, okay, I think I'm going to move on. And then life carries on, and then something happens, and then, oh, that one's brought up again. And you kind of like look at it and it's like, oh, it's a little less dense this time, but it's still there. And you can open it up, check it out, be curious. Maybe you kind of burn some pieces, it kind of dissipates a little bit. And then you carry on and you move over, you carry on. So there's a process to these things, right? So don't feel discouraged if you have some old stuff coming up, or maybe some new old stuff coming up, or however this looks for you. Just be curious and stay open to this deconditioning process, because it's not a one and done thing. We're not like, you're not going to get the stamp of approval and be like, she's done. As much as our ego mind wants that, it just doesn't work like that. But yeah, be curious, stay curious, and ask questions about, talk to your body. Like, why do I still feel that pit in my stomach every time so and so says this? And just be curious to what comes through. Oh, well, when you were 5 years old, somebody told you that if you didn't do this, that would happen, and that scared you, and you're still kind of carrying it around. And like I said, I know a lot of you have done a lot of work and moved through a lot of deconditioning already. But yeah, just stay mindful and stay curious, and always reach out to me or to the person that you trust the most in your life, if you need that help sometimes, right? Or you just need to have a conversation. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, please bring through any questions that you have in the comments. And I'm so grateful for you taking the time to watch this video. And yeah, we'll see y'all soon.